Okay, so welcome back, students. We're going to now look at how you update your drawing file to match with the comments that were made by the reviewer in the DWFX file. All right. So let's say now the draftsman has the file that was sent from the reviewer. The reviewer in this case, let's say for argument's sake, is parish council. So they now sent this DWFX file. Now the draftsman has to go and review the drawing file to update based on the comments that were made from the reviewer. So what the person who is a draftsman will now do is to go to AutoCAD. Remember, it's not a DWG file that was reviewed. The file that was reviewed was a DWFX file. So what the draftsman will have to do is to go to the View tab in the software. So I'm going to just open a blank file just to start. So I'll start a brand new drawing. Whether metric or imperial, it doesn't matter because the blank file is want to get into the software. Then now, we're going to go to the View tab on the ribbon and go to the Palettes panel, and there is an option for Markup Set Manager. Just make sure I have the right icon. This one. This is the icon here, top right hand corner of my panel. Markup Set Manager. So remember now, the file has to be saved with the markups on it, right? Which I have. So this panel comes up, actually a palette, not a panel, which is called Markup Set Manager. What I'll be required to do now as the draftsman is to open that DWFX file with the saved markups on it. So I'm going to click open and browse to the location where I have the DWFX file, which is this one. All right? The file that was opened in Autodesk Design Review that has the markups on it. Do that part again. You go to the View tab in AutoCAD, the Palettes panel, top right hand corner, Markup Set Manager. Click on it. It's going to launch this palette. Then you click on the down arrow here and choose Open. Browse to the location where you would have saved the DWFX file. So mine is on my cloud drive in the 2020-21 semester folder. And then this is the file.
So you have to close it to open. You have to close it to open it.
Yes, you should save it and close it. And then open the file. Now, it will bring you to this. And let me explain why this looks like this now. So this is the actual file. And I'm seeing 1, 2, 3 sheets. And the reason why I'm seeing the 3 of them is because markups were done on all 3. If markups were done only on 2, then you would only see 2. But it will still account for the entire drawing. So let's see what the markups are. You can access that by clicking on the plus to the left of each sheet. So right now it's showing me, that's the comment that was on the sheet. It was a dimension thing. And this would have been the story that they write. So let's say this was the saying that the building is close to the boundary than it should be. Clearly this would not.
Right.
Yeah, man. I just typed something there, but they would have a proper comment here. All right. So if I want to go directly there, I just need to double click and it open the file. This one now has the information about the area in square footage. And this one was the approval stamp. And this one is the stiffener that was incorrectly placed. So right away, I can see what the different things were. But if I want to now see the actual change or comment or review on the drawing, all I have to do is just double click and it will open. Now, it is telling me that it cannot be found because, let me check to see if I still have Autodesk Design Review open. No, it's not. So I may have to browse. Let me see if I have it open elsewhere. I don't have it open. could be an issue because of the cloud drive. I need to check. Might have to save it local. I shouldn't have to do this. I shouldn't have to do this. What should happen is that it should just open directly. But because the file was saved on a cloud drive, it couldn't. Yours open directly, right? Right. It should take you directly to it right here. Yours didn't? Did you get these markups coming up? And you double click on it?
Yes, sir.
Right. It should just open this drawing directly. Right. Just you. You have to browse to where you see the markup file. You can open. No. Open. Where did you save it? That's it? Okay. Wait, yes, do you still have a file open? Okay. I think yours is. Yeah, markup on the video file. What you see is. When this drive is actually going, it's here, so you should save it. And I have to publish it again. But you have to do it again. You can't save things on that drive. You have to save it on your home drive. Alright, so now that you would have done that, what the draftsman would have to do now, well, I don't know how this can be addressed. If it's a case where the building is too close, it's not built yet, they would have to now either shift it over. If they don't have room, they just have to make the building smaller because it can't breach, right? But if it's a case, huh? Yeah, this is a case where it has space, then they will just shift the drawing over so that it meets the requirement. If you don't have the space, then they're just going to have to cut off a part of the building, which means that they're going to modify the drawing. All right? So let's say that modification was done and the space is now okay. Then what the person would do is come here and now give the status of that change. So if you say question, then maybe you want to call parish council about something, about that. So you just leave the status of what it is. If it's something that you're going to come back to another day to review, then you could just leave that up there. But if it is that it's okay, then you would choose done. So it means now that that would have been checked off. You would have dealt with that problem, right? And by virtue of dealing with that, you would have also dealt with that too. So I'm going to click done for that.
When I do in the markup, when I do the corrections to the markup, you leave the
Yep, as soon as I close this, all of this disappears.
Oh.
Because remember, you'd have gone to the drawing, address the problem, do what must be done, and then you come back here and give the status of it. So click done. All right, so this one, there's not really anything here, so that was just for the purpose of the area. So I can just choose done for that. But this one, and this was a stamp, so I just choose done for that too. But this one is where the challenge was. So what would the person do? When you go to that sheet, it's already here. So you would go to the drawing, and you would address that problem. Yes? And then you would come back and update that one as well. So done. All right, the reason why you're not seeing the call out on it is because the file it's on my cloud drive, so it's not synchronizing. Right? Once you double click on it, it should take you directly to it. It took you there, right? On yours. When you double click on this, stiffener incorrectly placed, mine wants me to browse to the drawing again. Right. But when you double click, it should take you right there. Fine. So what will happen? Let me just go back to the first sheet then with the one that have this one. Since I double clicked and did that one. As soon as you have completed all of the process and checked off the status of them, when you close this, then that will disappear. So what it means is that you would have addressed all the matters, all the issues where that is concerned. But then now, you would have to save this again and republish the file and send it back to Parish Council. You just close the palette and they will disappear from the drawing. Just exit the palette, yes. And you will see the things disappear from the sheets. Right? Right. Then what you would have to do now is save the changes and publish the file again. And send it back to Parish Council, because remember now you would have completed your revision. Fix all the errors that they are problem with. And you send it back to Parish Council or whoever is the reviewer, and then they will give you final approval. Or if it was a preliminary approval, you would have printed it, blueprinted it, and carried it to Parish Council. They will just give you final approval and stamp it and give you permission to start your construction. Right? So this would basically give you the opportunity to do all of those review in a paperless environment, so to speak. Because the current situation, so this is something that is done out there now, but it's not an approved situation, meaning it's not an approved position of the council. If you take your drawing to Parish Council hard copy, they will take it because that's the approved position. But if you send it to them like this, they might not accept it because it's not an approved position. The only reason why it's being accepted now is because just like you have taught students who are there working right now and they have friends who know that they can accept it, so they will send it, but it's not an approved position. They will just do this back and forth and just give them the permission so that they don't have to print and waste money, right? But whenever it's an approved position, then it will be a procedure that you'll have to follow. So now, what it means is that you will now get the opportunity to go and plot it the very first time, blueprint it the very first time, and the one and only time. So you would have saved all of that money, because you can imagine, every time you do a drawing, and you have to pay all of this money to plot the drawing and then blueprint it and send it to Parish Council and then mark it up. You come back, you have to go fix it and plot it and blueprint it again and send it again. And then mark it up again. You're spending 2-3 times.
But another time, when you carry the paper, we get them and them check it off like if I did it. They have one put issue upon it. They might tell us they're going to squeeze them on things.
No, I don't go down that route. I'm not looking at those kind of situations. Extreme things that not supposed to happen. In Jamaica, everything happens, but that's not the situation that we're talking about here. We're talking about something that is an established position. Remember that the 2030 vision said we're going to be a first world country in 2030. So I am just saying that this needs to be a part of the vision. Yes? It should be an approved position that in the at least year 2030, we should stop taking, well, not stop, maybe just on a small scale accepting drawing by hard copy. Only the final one, which you're going to take to site, the approved one, should be hard copy. Because if you have to send back and forth paper every time, then all you're doing is accumulating this whole paper down there. They just need maybe one time to approve it, and you take it to site to build. This would save the environment. You know that? How can it save the environment?
So it cutting down less trees.
Right, because you know that paper is coming from trees. So you can save the environment and you can have a more efficient process. Right? Okay, now let's say we have done all of that. Now we're going to be looking at how you eTransmit the drawing. All right, so that's the next step. eTransmit the drawing. Because we have just looked at how you perform the review of the markups, and then the next step would have been to republish. But we're not going to republish. We know how to do that already. Right, so as I said before, that we were focusing on how you, after the drawing was marked up, then what we looked at just now was how to review those changes and make the changes. And once those changes are made, then you would have to republish the file and send it back to parish council. We're not going to republish because we know how to publish again. What we want to look at now is how you e-transmit. So that's what we're going to be doing next. So in order to e-transmit, you need to have the file open. Let's try. And I'm going to go to the big A application menu and then come down to publish, and you notice we have eTransmit here. Can somebody read the statement that is written below eTransmit?
Create a package of drawing files and their dependencies.
Create a package of drawing files and their dependencies. So you know it's a package, it's not one file. So what is going to happen when you e-transmit a drawing? The software is going to zip it up in the software. We don't have to zip it external to the software. It's going to zip. Now, I didn't want to go through that in the first assignment. I want you to do the other things. This is important for this assignment that is coming next.
Sir, we never show this on the other camera.
Somebody asked you that question already. It wasn't a part of the first assignment. So you do it the regular way. This is the way I want the next assignment to be done. So what this is saying, create a package of drawing files and their dependencies. What are some of the dependencies that are connected to this file? Tell me them. No, the DWG file is the one file. It's the file that are dependency to the DWG we want to know now. The DWFX is not a dependency, it's an other file. Yeah, that's not a dependency. Dependencies are not files, they are settings.
Depends on settings.
Yes. Plot style. If you don't have the plot style, the person, because what you're trying to do, you know, is to create a zipped up file, send it to somebody, and they should now be able to do everything that you were doing on your machine. Because remember, I told you that the plot style is saved on this machine. You want the plot style, not only that, the page setup settings. And if there was let's say there was a company logo that was on your sheet here. The company logo would have been a raster image. It would not be a drawing file per se. So it still will be referencing the picture that is on your computer somewhere. So what you want the computer to do is to create a package where all these things, you don't have to know where they are, the computer will find them and just grab them and drop them in the folder. And you can do that. So that is why this part of it is so important. It says, and their dependencies. But it's not the file that is on the drawing per se. It's a link to a file that is used in the drawing or some settings that is in the file. So I'm going to click on that. The first thing it's going to ask you is to save the changes, because remember, you want to send something to somebody. You want the latest changes. So I would agree that you would have to click save yourself. All right? So click save. Then now, the next thing that you're going to see popping up is what you are going to be packaging. So let's see if we can see what we have so far. So far, this is the drawing. We know what this is. The one bedroom flat drawing. This is the DWG file. And what is this one? Let's see. What is this one? This is the plot style that it grabbed out of the drawing. What is this one? Huh? The plot settings that we did when we were doing the configuration. So if you remember what the plotter was, this was for the one that we did for the layout sheet, and this one was the one that we did last week when we were looking at how you plot from the model view. Remember we did that DWG to PDF. So if you remember all those things, that it actually grab those settings. All right, good. What is not accounted for? The markup drawing. So how do we get this one now? See, it have an option now to add file. So this could be maybe you have a PowerPoint presentation or a Word file or Excel file that you want to send along with the drawing. So this is now giving you the opportunity to add the file. So I'm going to browse now to the location where I had the DWFX file that was in markup, the markup file, 2021. So this is the file. So it comes under a different category. This is why I said to you before that the DWG file is not a dependency. That's another file that you would have to add it. The only thing that are dependencies would have been like your plot configuration settings and your plot styles, or if there was a logo, but because there's no logo, it wouldn't find it here. So if I had a picture on the thing there, it would automatically find the picture and add it here. Yes? All right. Then you have the option to make a little note, like you're doing a fax and you send a little message or instruction. You could type it down. It's optional though, so it's not something that you must do. Okay, you still have the option to click OK, whether or not something is typed in here. All right. So I'm going to click OK, and now it's going to ask me to do what? To say what kind of file is it saving? Notice it's a file. When something is zipped, it's not a folder. It is a file. It's when you unzip it, it goes back to a folder. Because a folder does not carry a file extension. And this file is going to be whatever the name is, .zip. So it's not a folder, it is a file. So it's a zip, so you're actually saving a file. It's compressing everything into one place. So I'm going to keep the name of it, but I think in the assignment, I would normally give you an instruction as to what that file, that folder should be called, that zip file. But I'll just leave it as one bedroom flat, whatever, standard ZIP. It's going to be stored in the same location where I have everything else. So I'm going to click save. It's now packaging everything. That's it. Let's go there and see what it looks like. So let me share screen this time. Oh, already sharing screen. Okay, so here is that file, zip file. So the extension here, .zip. Now the only reason it looked like this stack of books is because I have a software on this machine called WinRAR. If you don't have WinRAR, what you would see is a little folder that looks like this. Let me right click and go to send it to. I select something. Send to, and you see this. This is the way how you will zip your thing. Right click, send to. And you will see the option that says compress zip. So it would look like a folder with a zipper on it if you didn't have WinRAR on your machine. Right? So that is the actual thing that you will be uploading to Moodle as your final piece. All right. Now what I'll be doing is this now. When I'm marking, I'll be double clicking on it. Click, click. Then this is the software that comes up asking me to unzip it. I would say extract to and choose the location. Anywhere you are, it will basically just extract it there. And then now, here, I'll be seeing that folder. In that folder, what am I seeing? I am seeing the drawing file, DWG. I'm seeing the DWFX file, and I'm seeing a folder that it compiled the plot settings and the DWFX file. So therefore, if I go to a second machine now, and I want the plot style on it, I will just copy this, and then now, when I go in my other machine, I would go and pretend as if I'm printing the thing, because I just want to get to the plot style. Go to print, and then you would go right here, and click Save As, and right click and paste it. You just view this as this. You just right click and paste it, and the plot settings will go right there. Alright? And then now you could just come on that machine and just do that. Right now when you click the print preview, everything comes up. Because the plot settings is right in the folder where it ought to be in order to display. So remember I told you that when you create the plot style, it goes directly into that folder. So unless you had gone to Save As and save it on a flash drive to have it somewhere else, and then you could go to the next machine and then go back to the same place and just paste it in there. It makes no sense to try to go and look for the folder otherwise. The fastest way to get to it is just come right here and go Save As and take you direct to the folder. So you just right click and paste it in there. Than to go find the file path, ENUS, this, that. Too much work. Just go directly there and paste it in there. And now that you have it here, you could come right here and find it on the list, and your plot style would basically show with the plot settings for that machine. All right, now, what else does that folder have inside there? In that folder, it also have, and these are the plot configurations that are already there anyway. It also generates a report. Look at this. So it will tell me when the file was zipped up, when it was eTransmitted. So it happened Monday, September 21st, 2020 at 11:52. It gives me that report. It will tell me all the things that are included in that file. Right? So this is something that I will be able to tell whether or not you use the manual way to right click and go file. You won't get the points for that because it has to be e-transmitted. And the report will be there to tell me whether when it was done and all the things are included. Right? So the e-transmitted is how it took everything and it just compiled it and just package it for you. Everybody good with that? All right. Now, I'm going to stop the recording because that will be the last thing that you'll be required to do in the assignment. I will continue to do something else, but I don't need to record that because it won't be assessed unless you still want it. But I'll stop the recording for that part there.